bacon time. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is time for Dads with Bacon talking sports. I am the host, Aaron Ludwig, and okay, hold on. It's possible the stream was ended or deleted. Okay, all right. Sorry, I can't always multitask. My wife will tell you I'm really bad at that. So had a note come up here. I had to read it. Anyway, welcome to the show for this Thursday, June 29th. We'll be covering a little bit of a review of College World Series, talk about the NBA or MLB All Star teams that the starters just announced, along with maybe touch on the NHL draft. I don't know. Well, most of these guys, as Marco says, we won't be really seeing them for another 3-4 years, but talk about it anyway. And then talk about a little Forbidden Door, Money in the Bank wrestling this coming weekend. And then, the latest NIL ruling or announcement that came out, the memo that came out by the NCAA. If you didn't hear about that, we'll talk about that, as well as a new, a little game that we're calling NHL Prospect or Russian General. And we'll bring everybody on here. And we got Ben, we've got Texas Two-Step TJ, Marco, and Brad. How's it going, buddy?
Good evening, guys.
How's it going, everyone?
Brad, no game.
Yeah, I know that sucks, man. I was excited for you to see the Savannah Bananas, man. I see all their posts, or I'm connected to the owner, I think, on LinkedIn, and he posts some great stuff a lot, and that looks like a fun time. Oh, we lost Brad.
He's got some audio issues.
Oh, yeah, some audio issues. Okay, all right. So hopefully he'll get back up with us pretty quick here. So anyway, all right. So let's get at it. Let's start. We'll touch quick on the College World Series. So LSU won their 7th College World Series, if I'm not mistaken, seventh national championship with a 18-4 win in Game 3. So they won that one 2-1 over Florida, and that was, I believe, after, correct me if I'm wrong, Florida beat them like 24-4 the day before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was breaks off.
Yeah, that's.
It's just for something, I had no skin in the game for either of these two teams. I just thought it sucked because it was SEC, but it's also that shows the powerhouse of college baseball now. I mean, SEC's been running the tables for baseball for like the past 7 years now. So I think this was a great showing of SEC power. Florida and LSU both were two electrifying teams to watch, and I tell you that Florida game when they won 24-3 or 24-4, that was just funny as hell to watch. And then they come back and just get spanked the next night.
Well, yeah, and everyone was talking what was Game 3? Was that Monday night? Maybe, I'm thinking, and yeah, leading up to the game, people, were saying, "Oh, is LSU, are they going to be hurt, and is that going to be in their head?" And it's, and a lot of people were saying, "Well, it is baseball, and you have different starters, so it's a little bit different than football, basketball, really any of those other sports. Just because one pitcher gets rocked doesn't mean the rest of them are, the next starter, the next game is going to, or whatever." So obviously, yeah, that was not the case with that. So. Ben, what did you have any thoughts on that whole series, or even the tournament? I mean, if you want to review the tournament a little bit too, go ahead.
Well, the funny part to me is looking at this is while I have my bitter feelings towards LSU fans from my own personal experiences, props to the fan base. They showed up and showed out. I mean, those dudes were loud. And you look at Omaha, that's a decent drive from Baton Rouge. But those Cajuns rocked that joint, man. Like, they were loud. They were in the head of Florida, who's been a top program all year. I mean, Florida's been right there the whole time. And, LSU and Florida both well-deserving teams. LSU overcoming Wake Forest, props to them. I mean, I thought Wake Forest was looking almost unbeatable, and they got through them. So, I begrudgingly had to congratulate LSU. It's kind of my, but in all fairness, my LSU friends, I have a lot of people I know who are just great sports fans, love LSU Tiger sports in general. Mm-hmm. They're passionate. Whether it's baseball, women's basketball, football, whatever, they're there for it. And look, I went to a gymnastics meet in Baton Rouge, and they're popping for that. I mean, they're literally filling an arena. The basketball arena is full watching gymnastics. So like props to LSU Nation for like showing up and doing their thing. Props to the team for making it, for gutting it out after getting their butts handed to them. Come back and get that win. I wish it was the Gators winning, but I'll give LSU their flowers right now. They definitely earned it. So great tournament. Loved watching every minute I saw this year. Every game was fun. And I guess if you're not a college baseball fan, I want to encourage you. It's different, to use the Taylor Swift term, I guess, but it's different. You kind of see this side of sports where you have these bullpens that you can go from a 7-point deficit in the 6th to a 4-run lead by the 8th. It's crazy what happens, these massive swings. And so, and again, these guys are amateurs, and that's part of what we've talked about before in other sports. The amateur nature of sports does give us a different, I guess, volatility, but also like emotional factor to it that I think that this year's tournament really encapsulated well. Where we saw some great programs, we saw some great Cinderellas. Oral Roberts has a phenomenal run. So, I mean, if you're not a college baseball fan yet, I hope you'll tune in next year because it really is fun to get that baseball in February that means something, playing right away on your radio.
I will say one thing though, when it comes to college baseball, hearing the ball hit off that bat is amazing. You hear those tings all the time. You're like, okay, this is going far. You hear the crack of the wooden bat. You're like, you split that bat, dude. When you hear those composite bats hit, it is just like music every time. Like I had my earbuds in, listening to a game. I think it was a Maryland Michigan State game, and I wanted to go to the game. I was at work, and I was like, I'll listen to it. And all you hear is just ting, and you're like, oh my god, it's so nice to hear that.
Yeah. Marco, any thought? I mean, I know you said you didn't get a chance to watch it, but you watched some of the World Series, didn't you? Or some of the tournament, right?
Again, those big swings. It's easy to get excited for, but it also kind of turns me off to when you get blown out, and then you come back and you blow the lead, and Oral Roberts comes back to win, and it's cool. But yeah, I didn't tune in or make any effort really to keep an eye on that. I've just been really busy lately, but it's always fun to see the SEC pull out a victory for anything. So good for them.
Brad, are you how are your? Oh, you got someone behind you there with the. Looks like you might be.
Hey, I'm on a live show, but you got.
And this is fatherhood, gentlemen. This is fatherhood.
It's right. That's right. It's fatherhood.
We got a streaker.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Anyway,
it is what it is.
It's exactly right. We're all dads. Hey, we get it.
100%.
So yeah, did you? Well, first of all, let's go to Savannah Bananas. You won tickets? Is that what you said? Or you?
Oh no, I didn't win them. I didn't win them. My pastor, he's a new pastor for our church recently, and he and his wife were going to be going with his sister-in-law, and they ended up Thursday. They ended up not being able to come into town until tomorrow. Okay. So they're like, "Hey, we can't use the tickets. We're going to be out of town. God bless you." And we're like, sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, then thunderstorms rolled in all day for the first time. It hasn't rained here in Indianapolis in other than spits, just weeks, man. So yeah, the one day it decides to unleash, the stadium loses power. The stadium power does not return, thus canceling the game. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
Now, and how do those work? Because at first I thought it was I thought the Savannah Bananas were just a normal team, but then I've seen videos and I'm like, okay, are they like the Harlem Globetrotters of minor league baseball or what?
Yes, that is pretty much it. They play a 9-inning baseball game. They call them banana ball rules, and banana ball rules have a few things. For example, if a player hits a foul ball and a fan catches it, they're out.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Nice,
so
nice.
Again, that's just an example of some of the stuff that they do. They have people who are paid actors and stuff like that with athletic experience that they'll go around and sing around the stadium. Just do like family friendly, just good time, wholesome entertainment, man. That's
Nice.
I was looking forward to it, but again, Lord had other plans, and that's okay. Thankfully, we're going to give them back to our pastor because, again, her sister is able to be in the town by tomorrow, and the game is rescheduled for Saturday.
Oh, well, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, we're leaving to head
All
on
right.
town
Well,
for the lake tomorrow, so it was great to give them back.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's cool. So now, did you get a chance? Did you watch any of the College World Series or not?
Yeah, I watched part of the final game. To be quite honest, I was really kind of surprised that Wake Forest kind of pootered out there in the semifinals. And but again, that's SEC baseball. I mean, SEC baseball is top notch, and to see LSU or Florida, who are both SEC teams, to take down the crown. That wasn't surprising. I mean, those teams were between Florida, LSU, and who else from Tennessee. The three SEC teams that were legit contenders. So it wasn't surprising.
No. Okay, well let's go from one version of baseball to the other. We'll talk about since Marco's been begging us to talk MLB baseball. It's a good time with All Star game coming up, and I have to even look at the schedule when is it a couple weeks now?
It's about a week and a half, 10 days.
Yes, okay, gotcha. All right, so anyway, they announced the MLB All Star game starters. And we'll start with you, Marco, because I think you said you watched you've seen the whole list. Anyone jump out at you? Anyone surprise you? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the rosters?
Well, I mean, so like Sean Murphy's going in, catcher for the Atlanta Braves. Talk about a next man up opportunity. He got the start. Oh my God, I'm brain farting now, but due to injury, you went into concussion protocol. Oh, Ben, help me out. Who's the catcher for the Braves?
Well, Murphy's the man. The Braves traded away Contreras to the Brewers.
Are you talking about like McCann?
No. Oh, geez. Travis Darnell was the star. Travis earned the job over the spring. I know they brought in Sean Murphy, and I think he was going to DH more. But then Travis got a concussion with a kind of some dirty play at the plate early on in the season. But then, Murph steps up, and he's hitting like 290. He's got like 40 RBIs. He's doing really good.
13 homers, 44 RBIs. Yep.
So I don't know. I feel like that was just an opportunity for him to kind of make his worth it. And Troy will be able to talk to this, later on or whatever. But the Braves Nation was really kind of up in the arms with the catcher position. As a franchise that usually has that position locked down. He
still got 3 starters. Quit complaining.
Right. Right.
So that was good. And then, like I said earlier, the Rangers, I think it's like an all Rangers infield. Jonah Heim is with Votto. The rookie is doing amazing out there. If you guys aren't watching these kids that are playing, that are coming up throughout the major leagues, 24 is the new 28. I always say, historically the come out year would be, 28 years old. And you're like, all right, here's a guy that's coming into his own. Yeah. It's now like 24, 25. Jonah Heim, following an older tradition, I think he is 28. But
it looks like the only position on the infield that isn't a Ranger is Diaz from Tampa Bay at first base. Otherwise, like the entire infield is Texas Rangers. Wow, I didn't even realize that. So
yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Somebody help me out. Are they done with the one team has to always be represented? Because I think throughout both starting lineups, there's only 9 teams represented.
Well, your bench fills out usually more with those other teams to try and find those pieces that make sense. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's more or less done. The guy I want to call attention to here is Orlando Arcia. He was in a throwaway trade from the Brewers to the Braves for 2 relievers a couple of years ago, and now he's found himself in a spot replacing Dansby Swanson in Atlanta, and now he's the all-star starter at shortstop. beating Lindor for that spot, no less. I mean, it's an incredible story. He beat Swanson out, who's been a Cubs savior this year, much to my chagrin. But looking at this whole team, to me, looking at the whole voting in general, RC is probably the biggest shock to me. Seeing a guy who's beating Xander Bogaerts, who's out in San Diego now, Trey Turner in Philadelphia. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in front of him that normally in front of him who he took a step over this year. And full credit to the man. He's played well. He's earned a spot there, but that's probably the most shocking of all the names I'm seeing. I mean, Sean Murphy, that was a big trade. They gave up a lot to get him. But I mean, there's Corbin Carroll's a fun story. First selection he's ever had. Corbin Carroll's just been a man on fire. I mean, the dude's hitting the leather off the ball. Loris Gurriel Jr. in Arizona, he was traded from the Blue Jays kind of as a lost cause for them. And he's sitting here, and he was 5th in All-Star voting for the outfield in the National League. So there's a lot of pieces here that are kind of fun to see. And it's a fun thing to look at. Does it mean anything? I've always had a problem a little bit. Oh, Troy, hey, there you go, buddy. With an all-star format for MLB, where it really comes down to whose fan base gets online and has more time to vote.
Yeah,
because you can stuff the boxes for a guy who's batting 240 all you want. He could start if you stuff the box hard enough.
Well, I remember Cardinals. This is when I started really hating the Cardinals and Cardinals fans. Was a few years ago. The Brewers had a campaign, and I can't remember who the catcher was at the time, but it was one of those where the fans got to choose the final player on the All-Star roster for each league, and it came down to the catcher for the Brewers and the catcher for the Cardinals at the time. And it was one of those same things. I can't remember who. Yeah, I'd have to look. I mean, this was probably like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So but I just remember Cardinals fans bitching about it because we didn't. It's like, well, then I mean, come on, lighten up. Just because your guy got beat out by a Brewer guy, it's okay. You can, you don't have to cry about it. Anyway,
still in the division, Cardinals. Get over it.
Exactly. All right, hey, okay. So TJ, let's go with you because you said what happened? You lost a bet or something to a buddy.
Yeah. So
why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
So the bet we had was I said Adley Rutschman was going to get the vote for the catcher for the AL because I think he definitely would have gotten it. And he was like, "All right, I'll bet you." He goes, "If you win," he's like, "I'll buy you tickets for Friday's game, so tomorrow's game. If you lose," he's like, "I'm buying you a Rangers hat. You have to wear it on your podcast, and I'm watching it." And I said, "Okay, cool." So literally an hour ago, he comes knocking at my door, and sure enough,
there it is.
As an Astros fan, this really hurts wearing it, but I own up to my bets.
You're a man of your word. Props to you.
That's right. Yes. Kudos.
Well
Kudos. I mean, really going into this All-Star break, I mean, I think that this is really for the Rangers. This is it's like a 4 to 5 year plan running. They've been terrible for a stretch, and I mean, really, if you think about it, almost immediately off of a World Series berth, 1 out away from winning a World Series championship, and then from there the wheels fell off. So it's kind of nice to actually see them, kind of turning that thing around organically. They haven't had huge names, big prospects in a way. But also, I mean, who would have thought they would have been 6 games ahead of Houston going into the break? I mean, Houston is a championship contender, along with, you put the Rays as a championship contender, as the Braves are a championship contender. And to think that the Rangers are right there as, the top, 3 teams in the league with the most wins.
Yeah.
It's a delayed payback. You put the money out last year for Semien and Seager, and that's, I mean, they got DeGrom this year too. It's not like they've done this thing through a farm system, building prospects organic. They have paid the money to get this team.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, is that that's not the way that the entire roster has been constructed. They've been able to the past couple seasons. They've had their framework in place, and they say, "Hey, I need that guy. I need that guy." I think that's about as organic as you can get, especially in in the era of free agency.
No, that's very fair.
So
I just
okay,
gotta
now
say,
let's.
there's
Go
no
ahead. Go
Cardinal
ahead, TJ.
fans. None of you guys are Cardinal fans, are you?
Absolutely not.
No,
All right, good. Because I got the Astros game on, and they are whooping up on the Cardinals 10-0.
good.
Yeah.
I don't cheer the Astros often
Good.
tonight. I'll cheer the Astros tonight.
See, and I'm really trying not to get too excited about the Cardinals being 9 games back because first of all, the division sucks to begin with, and I've just seen too many, including last year when the Brewers were leading almost the entire year, and then took a big dump in the bed, and here's St. Louis winning the division. So I've seen it way too often to try to get too excited. I'm trying to temper myself a little bit, but it is enjoyable seeing them in the cellar. I mean, there's no question.
Love it.
And I will say, Marco, this
Brewers
morning, what was that, TJ?
I've got the Brewers game on as well on the big TV, and they're up 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth. With
Oh,
one out.
nice. Okay,
Chance
so if they
to 3 or 4
win,
from the
they'll
Mets.
if they win, they'll end up. I think they'll be tied for the Reds because I think the Reds are off tonight. So, okay, so let's now, since we're coming up to the All Star break, why don't we talk a little bit? I mean, we could talk next week about too, but just a little bit about the first half. Marco, anything that surprised you? Any?
I mean, there's a lot of things that surprise me, but one of the things that I like a barometer that I use to identify a team if they're doing well is run differential. And some of these run differential splits are ridiculous. Take the NL Central, for instance. The Cubs are the only team. They're plus 25 on run differential, and they're in third place in their division. And you look at other teams or the NL East, where the Atlanta is plus 117. Everybody else is in the negative. And then you got, first place teams are going to score a lot of runs. But last place teams and bottom feeders that don't score a lot of runs, they're dead in the water. So you look at the NL West, where Colorado is negative 127, and everybody else is at least 20 runs or above. Negative 127 run differential.
Well, what's funny is that when you bring that up, I think I heard something. Was it this past weekend, or the weekend before that when they lost? Was it 25-1 to the Angels, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, and they still ended up winning. They still won the series.
Right.
I think they won 2 out of 3 games, and yet I think their differential was like negative, whatever it was, negative 20 or something like that in 3 games. So
Grand Slam.
yeah. I mean, it's just that is crazy when you think.
And then Oakland, they're not a professional team. They're in the negative 240, which is, I think, they might set the record. I think that's why nobody's talking about that no-hitter that the Yankees threw, because it was.
I thought that meme was really, that you put in the chat this morning was funny, except then I realized that my Brewers got swept by them at home. So I was like, I can't really. Again, I mean, it is halfway through the season, so baseball is one of those sports. I get it. You can't get upset over 3 games, but I just remember thinking, okay, we have to at least win 2 out of these 3 games, and then we get swept. It was just, that was awful.
Blind dogs find bones once in a while.
Well, I know, but usually not 3 games in a row.
I think one surprise going into the All Star break is, I think, in the NL West, to see how strong Arizona has of a comeback they have made. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Because again, you got San Francisco and LA clearly on your tail. But gosh, I mean, is there some sort of curse in San Diego? I mean, no matter who they.
Oh, Manny Machado.
I mean, talk about. I mean, you thought the overhype on the Mets was bad. I mean, the overhype on the Padres, and to see a absolute lack of results. I mean, just nothing.
And I'm here for it.
Yes, I think the NL West is a big surprise this year as to where everybody falls in line right now.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mentioned there a little bit ago, but I love watching the misery of the Mets and the Padres right now, and the Cardinals. Like, when I'm looking at the storylines to me in baseball, it's who's not relevant.
Wow.
I mean, the Mariners had a great year last year. They're 10 games back now, and they're really kind of in no man's land. They're under 500, underperforming. The AL Central is just as big of a joke as the NL Central, even worse somehow. Their top team is 40-42 in the Twins. Under 500 is winning that division. And you go through the rest. I mean, Tampa Bay started red hot, and they've come back to ground a little bit. But I mean,
But they still have a plus 152 run differential. So I think
well, when you win 20 straight and start the season, that gives you a pretty good buffer there, regardless. And props to the O's and TJ. We went to before the season started.
100%.
But props to Miami where they're at. I mean, if you would have told me they'd be 14 games up right now, I would have told you you're smoking something I've never seen before. I mean, they're playing amazing ball. Luis Ariz is an amazing trade. He's chasing 400 for a season. I hope he gets it, honestly. I think it'd be kind of fun to see him go get that 400 batting average for the season. But all that said, the Reds are another surging team. I know we got Twig in the group who's loving the Reds run.
Oh yeah. Mark he's a big Reds guy. So yeah,
it's funny too because I went to that series here in Baltimore, and I tell you what, the Reds are a team to be messed with. Seeing them live is ridiculous. How they're guys in the dugout. They could be down 3-1. They're literally they're coming up high fiving everybody and hey, that bad play. They're still bringing them up. But you see these other teams who they'll get an error in first or second, and they're screaming at each other they're trying to pull a shank out and stab each other in the dugout. The Reds, they don't do that. I mean, they had, I think, one error in the game that we went to, and the guy literally gave him a hug and said, "Hey, next play." And what's he do? Dude, he gets an amazing double play. It was, I mean, I've never seen a team so well connected, I guess you could say, doing this. So it was fun to watch that. I'm not gonna lie.
And that's where I'll give the Reds credit because they've got bats, they've got the personality. Great call, TJ, on that because you're looking at the best team I've seen as a Brewer fan has been when they've had that chemistry. When you got that, when you got that dugout pulling behind each other, kind of supporting each other. Same with football. And Marco, ready the buzzer. When the Packers had teams that actually liked each other, they actually played well together. But we've seen a lot of individuals more so lately that's caused more of those problems. So great call out there, TJ. But yeah, I think the Reds, and the problem I see with the Reds is going to be, can they make enough moves to support that rotation and bullpen to be relevant when it actually matters late in the year? Because that pitching staff is their weakness. I don't see a way around that. If they can figure out how to get some more outs, those bats will carry them a long way. But they've got to find a way to get more outs.
Yeah. Okay. I think one more question before we move on to our wrestling segment of the show here on baseball. Marco, what are your thoughts now that we've had a half a season on the pitch clock? I mean, I think you still
hate it.
Because I think I saw numbers. I saw someone post, and this was on LinkedIn the other day, a guy that does sports business stuff, and somebody had done an article about the difference this year in baseball, and I think was it this past weekend they recorded their first one of their best weekends around the league for attendance. They had 8 teams that broke 40,000 in their for a single game in their attendance, and then they were just talking about the average last year for a game time was I think 307 for the season. And this year it's right now at I think 237 so far. So, I mean, to me personally, I like it. I haven't gone to a Brewers game yet this year with the pitch clock, so that'll be interesting because I know just with my kids, taking a family to a game and it's going 3 hours long or even longer, and it's 15 minutes for an inning, and the kids start to kind of start to drift off. I think my son wanted the phone to play one of his games by about the 5th inning. He had checked out. But Ben, how are your thoughts? What are your thoughts so far on the?
Man, I'm all in, and I'm going to go against Marco here a little bit. Surprise. But no, it's but no, I love it. I mean, watching these games, my dad's a guy that he'll watch baseball looking to be with me. Yeah. He doesn't really love baseball, but now we got these quicker games. He can actually stay engaged in it, so it's not so draining on him. To where I feel like we can get this game in, we can watch it, and I don't have him falling asleep on the couch next to me the whole time. I've caught myself this year where I look at my phone, I look back up again, it's 2 innings later. I mean, it's nice to see that difference where before it was like, man, you look up and it was maybe an out just transpired. So, I mean, overall, I think that it's good for the game. It's good for the consumer. And there's still plenty of traditional baseball being played between the years with guys having their gamesmanship they can put in there. There's pieces that are still, guys have plenty of time to get their head right or to get it wrong and keep the game moving. So I'm loving it. I'm here for it 100%.
TJ, how about you?
Well, I mean, being at the games, I'll tell you the only downside is Mother Nature. I swear, man, Mother Nature is the only downside of a baseball game because the past 2 games for the O's, they ended after 11:30 because of like rain delays.
Rain delays. Okay. Yeah.
Seeing the pitch clock, it literally it goes by super fast. I'm kind of partial with it. I love it because I can, like I said, we can take our kids. They're not going to be too bored of it. What I hate about it, is you could literally go up and go grab a beer and it's already the 5th inning. You're like, dude, I literally just got to the stadium. Like it goes by super fast. So I think it's kind of a hit or miss type of deal. And I'm definitely kind of impartial to it, but I want to see if maybe they do something different at the end of the year with it.
Sure. Brad, how about you? And then we'll move on to our wrestling part.
I haven't been to the ballpark yet since the new pitching clock has been put in place. So I, typically I'll be getting to some AAA ball here in Indy throughout the summer and early fall. So I'll have a little more experience then.
Yeah, and I do think there is a difference between watching at home and watching it, in live in person. And like TJ said, I mean, sometimes you've taken a while to get a beer or whatever, but I mean, I love it so far. But I haven't been to a game yet either. So, okay, let's go on to wrestling. So this past weekend we had Forbidden Door. I know we talked about it last week, like we always, on our wrestling segment. So Ben, why don't you, since you're the one that for sure watches every week. Why don't you give us your thoughts, a quick recap on Forbidden Door. We can kind of go around, then we can talk about this coming weekend stuff.
Look, so there's 3 highlights I want to focus on when it comes to Forbidden Door. Number 1, I mean, is match of the year possibly, and that was Ospreay and Omega. Like, if there's one match you could show somebody, just be like, this is part of what makes wrestling fun. And the one thing that I would say is a shame on the whole match was at the very end, there's a tough spot where Ospreay kind of let Omega slide a little bit too far, and it looked like a nasty digger on his neck and his head. But they did such a great job for 40 minutes protecting each other with amazing moves. They looked brutal. The guys are bleeding. Like it was a great match. And if anyone has a chance to, I strongly suggest take the time, watch Omega and Ospreay, because that's wrestling at its finest. Number 2, some of the greatest wrestler of all time battle. How tough is Bryan Danielson? Some of you saw those x-rays from Bree being posted. Dude fought for over 10 minutes with a broken arm. Like straight up
broken freaking arm.
Like this is Byron Leftwich broken femur style stupidity of sports. And the dude sold it. And he made you question if it was a sell job, if he was trying to convince and play, kind of play lame, or if it was legit. So amazing props to Danielson. I mean, the man's man right there, like stupid or not, I'll give him his flowers. He beat Okada. Great match too. Overshadowed by Omega and Ospreay, but still great. And the last point I want to bring up was a moment I audibly popped for, like scared my cousin's dog popped for this. Was when Jungle Boy finally made his turn, and Jungle Boy is now our heel. So he turned on Hook, and I was waiting for Taz to get up and like go kick his ass for his son. But it was just even how Taz sold it from the commentary to how Hook sold it, Jungle Boy, every bit of it. I was just so elated, like irrationally elated for a guy to turn bad who has been such a babyface for the last 3+ years. It was an amazingly well done situation. And I couldn't agree more with the Facebook user right here. Omega does not get enough credit. I mean, he is as hyped of a wrestler outside WWE there's been in my memory, but he's earned every bit of those flowers he gets in the internet and otherwise. The guy makes okay wrestlers look good and good wrestlers look great. So, phenomenal show. If you didn't watch it, it's worth the watch. Storylines or not, it was probably my favorite show of the year so far.
TJ, did you watch it at all? I know you're one of the other ones that usually watches the wrestling. You get a chance to watch this or not?
I don't watch AEW. That's
that's right.
I don't
dude.
watch it.
Dude,
I have my reasons.
you
why.
have those reasons. That hurts my heart, TJ. It hurts my heart.
I've got my reasons why, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But I really haven't picked up AEW. All my buddies have been telling me I should watch it.
Well, you should then. You should listen to your buddies, apparently.
I'm not going to listen to my buddies because every time I do, something bad happens.
Oh, okay.
But no, I really don't follow AEW. I'm more of the WWE guy. But yeah, I mean, listen to what you guys, especially when Ben talks about AEW, it definitely sounds like something I should dabble in maybe one of these days. Kind of like NBA. I'll dabble in it here soon.
there you go. Well, Brad, did you catch all of Forbidden Door or not?
Yeah, I catch
Okay.
most. I catched most of it on the pirated version of the interwebs.
Oh, that's right. I think you and Troy were going back and forth about that. 'Cause I think he
And,
was trying to do the same thing.
So I ended up missing the Okada Danielson match, which kind of that was again I was able to find another way to watch it the next day. But I think that even though as great as those matches were, I still think that there's like the Forbidden Door is kind of like one of those niche pay-per-views where
Sure.
there's a lot of people who really couldn't care less about who's coming from New Japan because they don't see them every week, and that's fine. That's perfectly okay. I think there were also some kind of bummer matches too. I thought oh man, I thought the Jericho Appreciation Society and I thought that was kind of a lame match, to be quite honest. Sting took more of a dive on Wednesday night than he did on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that if he was planning on going that crazy Wednesday night, I was disappointed with that faction match. I do, however, I am starting to kind of grow on Daniel Garcia. I really think that Jericho is rubbing off on him well. Like doing the small things right to be entertaining. Like I don't know if you remember during the match, like he had like one of those like there was like I don't know if it's crossface or an arm bar, and he started flexing while he had the arm bar on. Something like Jericho would do. It really it's those small things that generate more heat. So I'm looking forward to see what he kind of does once. I think once he'll be done with Jericho Appreciation Society sooner, I think, than people think. I think there will be some sort of bye-bye match between him and Jericho pretty soon.
So I did catch the end of that match, and I don't know. Do you think it's time for Sting to hang him up? Is he bringing much to the table, or are we just holding on to?
To be quite honest, I mean, I think he's got more than Ric Flair had in the tank at the very end.
True.
However, I do think that dudes that age, like, again, there's nothing else you got to do, man. Literally zero. That you don't have to strap on another boot in order to prove how much you belong on the Mount Rushmore of sports entertainment.
Yeah.
That's a fair point, though, Marco. I mean, it's hard because we love Sting so much. It's kind of like when you see your parents get old or your grandparents get old. You're like, man, you were so awesome, but dang, you're old. Like, it's just that moment. I mean, and I think we all feel it for ourselves once in a while too. We're like, man, I can do that. No, I can't. And I think Sting's kind of hitting that wall right now a little bit. And being with Darby is that much harder because Darby is that ridiculous spot guy. But
yeah,
it's a good rub for Darby. It's still fun to see, but yeah, I don't know. And I see this comment on the bottom. Jericho's doing what CM Punk promised he would do with young talent. And I'm going to go ahead and put my hot take out here, Marco, and you can probably hate me for being a Chicago guy. But CM Punk can take a long walk off a short bridge, man.
I can't stand the guy.
Like, I am so over Punk, and any guy who's willing to do what he's done in the last year, it's just a scumbag, man. Like, if it was a work, why are you burying Colt so bad? Why are you burying the Young Bucks so bad? It's if it was a work, it sucked. Like,
he sucks.
If I'm looking at MJF calling out Tony as being a mark, we all know that. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But when it comes to, you're gonna try and call out Colt Cabana for living with his mom. Like, come on, dude. Like,
yeah, no,
Punk, you're better than that. You don't need that crap.
Not a CM Punk guy. Yeah.
Now, Marco, did you get a chance to watch the Forbidden Door this weekend or not?
No, just a couple of highlights here and there, and I tuned in for the Jericho Appreciation Society. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now, what's coming up this weekend, Ben? What's
So Money in the Bank is this weekend. So it's
that?
one of my favorite gimmick pay-per-views where we get to see that Money in the Bank has been every single women's Money in the Bank winner has gone on to win the title when they cash it in 100% to this point. So you kind of get a feel for who's that next up-and-coming woman. It played a little more with the men, obviously, in terms of I think it's 73% is the cash-in rate so far. But it's still a big point where you really see who's getting that push. Even the guys who don't cash in, you see those dudes, be in the picture for quite a while after that. So the secondary storylines here, I'm looking forward to seeing the Civil War and the Bloodline, the Usos versus Roman and Solo. I think that's going to be an absolute, that's going to tear the house down. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal match, and it's good to see the Usos being the Usos again and not just being Roman's bitches, quite frankly. So it's good to see this going this direction. I like this storytelling on the Bloodline. My only gripe with the whole situation is Roman holding 2 titles and holding them up and hanging them up. Like, that's my only gripe in the situation. Otherwise, it's entertaining, it's fun, it's compelling. We have a chance to really enjoy what we have right now.
Yeah, there's I think there's some really good matches lined up for Money in the Bank. You got like Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. That's going to be a fire match. Those two have been, really at it the past 5 years, ever since Balor had made his Raw debut.
And won the Universal title for the first, and they got injured by Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I think another match that will still be good just because of the drama involved, not necessarily the wrestling or fighting, will be Dominic Cody. I think that's got a really strong Rhea influence, and there's just so many factors in that Dominic story, from him, being a punk to his dad, and being the wuss of the of the faction, and being Rhea's little dom. Those are all things that really I think that story has actually gone pretty well. I also like Gunther Riddle. I think Gunther Riddle is. I think that's going to be. I'm calling that as match of the night. I think that is
fair.
Going to be. Again, I could put Usos and Roman Solo there too, but I think as a one-on-one match, I think this is going to be the match of the night for sure.
Now you said this is on Peacock, correct?
That's correct.
At 3:00 or something like that, you said?
I think it's 3 Eastern on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, correct, because they're in London.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, all right. Who do you guys got winning the Money in the Bank then?
Dude, which one, men's or women's?
Dude, my heart says LA Knight.
Right?
My heart says LA Knight. Dude, he is on fire right now. He can't. Everybody loves LA Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's he's still a heel, I guess, right? I mean, I don't know if you could call him a heel or a fan. He's kind of in between.
Great tweener right now. Yeah, I mean, LA Knight's my emotional pick. Logan Paul's that looming. God, I hope not, but Vince is in charge, so it's possible.
Yeah.
God, I hate that.
Please
guy.
no.
I like Logan. It's the other one I hate. Jake is the one I want to punch.
Right, Jake I can't stand. Logan's actually been good in the ring too.
Well, wait, now which one is the one that was doing all the or were they both boxing before they went to wrestling? Were they both doing the boxing crap, or which one?
No,
was it?
Jake Paul boxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the one I can't stand. Sorry, I haven't seen Logan, but
But I think
big
like if
Jake
you're
Paul's
to
a
go with
bitch.
logic, I think the best person to put it with is probably Damian Priest. I mean,
Sure.
he's really kind of. I mean, is he the de facto leader? I mean, I'm not, or is Finn the lead? I don't know. I
It's
mean, really,
Rhea. It's Rhea. Rhea's a leader.
you think?
Yeah. Rhea's
Finn.
that leader. She's been built correctly. She is that leader of that pack. But I
Interesting
mean,
take.
that's the fun of it, though. I enjoy this because it's one of those situations where we can debate this. This is debatable. I mean, Finn Balor is the veteran. Damian Priest is the up and comer. Dom's the legacy, and Rhea is just that badass chick who's kicking everyone's butt in the meantime.
TJ, what are your thoughts on it? You've been the quietest as we've been talking about.
Yes, dude, Mr.
Money in the Bank.
WW,
What's
Mr. Homer.
yeah. What's the
Well, see, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of taking off of everything you guys are saying. For the men's side, I really do like LA Knight, and the only reason why is watching the LA Knight. Who was it? LA Knight? I can't remember the fight it was. It was a Blackout Mountain Dew match that they had.
With Fiend?
The Fiend, yeah. I thought that was probably my favorite match. And LA Knight, really he showed himself in that. And I was really excited. So he gained a lot of respect for me. I really hope he does win it because I want to see him with a title in his hands. And honestly, the title I want to see him with, I want him taking him away from Seth Rollins. I think that's the match that I really, really want to see. Now through the other matches with the Usos and versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, I'm crossing my fingers that the Usos beat them, and Solo finally wakes up and sees that Roman Reigns is just being a complete total ass. But I also wish that I won the Mega Millions and Powerball. It never happened. For the women's Money in the Bank, I tell you what, there's two girls that I really want to see win this. Zelina Vega is one of them because I feel like she could hold a title. I don't know. She's not going to be Rhea Ripley. That's a given right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like she could go. I don't know. It's a hit or miss, but I'm also thinking they're going to give it to either Becky Lynch again because of Seth Rollins having a title. They're going to want the power couple to have titles together. So I'm kind of partial, but those are my two picks. And then what comes to Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, I think Seth Rollins has that. I mean, he's on a roll, and I think they're going to let him have that for a good time. I don't think they're going to do like a Roman Reigns. You get 1,000 days, and then you kind of just yawn at every match. Dominic Mysterio, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes just going to bend him over, and Mommy's going to see who the real man in that relationship is.
I don't know. Does Finn come out as the demon? If he does, I'll take Finn over Seth.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it kind of depends. I guess you're right. What he comes out as. If it's Finn Balor himself, I think Seth has it. If he comes out as a demon, I think that'll be a good match. But yeah, I can see that happening.
Demon can't take another L though, can he? I mean, Demon's taken too many L's already as Demon.
I
yeah,
think
Demon also got his head bashed in by Edge, so I think he's sitting for a while. I think the Gunther Matt Riddle fight, I think that's going to be the main, like the headliner in my eyes, because that's a match that, man, it seems like Riddle's just going through Imperium.
Dude, both those dudes can go. They can go, and they can beat on somebody. They can take a licking, and they can. I mean, just keep on going. It's like the Energized Bunny.
I would love to see Gunther lose that. As much as I know that it may not happen, I would love to see him lose the title, because it just seems like there's so many like groups that are just taking over the WWE, and it gets kind of boring because then it's almost like high school. What group are you in? Are you with the cool kids? Or are you with, the family or whatever like that? That's kind of how I feel like WWE is getting now is if you're not in a group, you're kind of lost on the train. And then the next match that I'm actually well, my wife's excited for is the women's tag team
Mhm.
because Liv came back after her injury. She came back, and her and Raquel want a rematch. I hate Shayna Baszler. I hate Ronda Rousey. I can't stand those two, and I wish they would just leave the WWE. So I hope that Liv
that means they've done a great job of developing
Exactly.
some quality female heels, which is rare in WWE.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I hope Liv and Raquel win that one.
Okay.
And
All
Dirt
right,
Sheets
so-
say Io Sky is favored in the women's ladder match.
Yep.
Yeah, my money is
So-
on EO as well.
It'll be fun. It's always fun.
Will be.
All right. Well, let's move on now. We have we talked about addressing the NHL draft, and since Marco brought up a good point that much like the MLB draft, most of these guys you're not going to hear about for like 3 or 4 years anyway. So we decided to play a little game here. Marco is going to lead the game. It's called NHL Prospect or Russian General. So, Marco, why don't you explain it? I'm sure people could probably figure out what we're doing, but go ahead and explain it anyway.
Yeah, right. So we don't know who these guys are that got drafted. Russian players are having a hard time right now with the with the war in Ukraine, and the tensions are high. But some of them are making their way over. There's also a good relationship with the Russian league, the KHL out there. That's probably the second best hockey league in the world where they're playing, and it's great for the young guys that are getting drafted that are playing over there because they're playing against men, right? So I don't know if you guys watched the juniors or the 20 under tournaments that were earlier in the year. A lot of the young guys that do get drafted and you don't see them, they end up going either to the OHL or the WHL. The KHL is the big minor league feeder system. But again, they have their own contracts. So they'll draft guys that are already on contract in the KHL and keep those rights, let them finish out in Russia, and then come when they're, in their early 20s. They're playing there when they're 16, 17 years old.
Sure.
So this game, NHL prospect from Russia or Russian general, I'll give you the name. You guys debate for a minute, and I'll let you guys know who they are. So without further ado, the first one's going to be an easy one. So Matvey Michkov. Matvey Michkov, and I'm probably butchering the names, but
that's okay. None of us will know the difference. Ben, what do you think? Russian general or NHL prospect?
I'm going prospect here. It seems a little bit too easy to go general right away, so I'm going prospect.
TJ?
I'm gonna go general.
Prospect.
Brad? Okay, I'm going to go prospect as well.
He's a prospect. He was the Flyers' first-round pick the other night. Matvey Michkov is a NHL player.
Okay.
This one's going to be easy too, right? So I didn't want to go too hard for you guys. Sergei Servokin.
Brad, you go first.
General.
Okay, Ben.
I'm going prospect again.
TJ.
God damn it! I'm gonna say prospect.
I'm gonna go general.
He's a missing general right now, currently on the run. Can't find him. He's part of the coup from last weekend, fake coup, but he's on the news. So Sergei Sorokin is. We're looking for you if he's watching the show. Stay in hiding. Whatever you're gonna do. All right. Let's do another one. Let's do Alexander Vasilevsky. Alexander Vasilevsky.
I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna go general. Ben.
I'll join you on general. I want to point out the irony of Marco Ramos saying Russian names is hilarious to me. But yeah, I'm going general.
TJ, how about you?
I'm gonna go prospect.
Okay, Brad.
I'm going general again.
All right.
He's a general from
Yeah.
World War I and World War II, Minister of War from 49 to 53. That's Alexander Vasilevsky. Write these names out so we can see. Okay, here we go. Here's a tough one. Dmitry Ovechninkov.
God,
Ben,
damn it.
what do you think?
Ovechninkov.
Dmitry.
Dmitry Ovechnikov.
That wasn't too bad. I'm going prospect.
Okay, Brad's going prospect. Ben, how about you?
I'll go prospect here as well.
TJ.
I'll go prospect. I'm already losing.
I'll go prospect.
He is. He's a Maple Leafs 2020 draft
Nice.
pick. So
All
keep an
right.
eye out for that jersey.
So he'll never get a cup. Gotcha.
All right. Here's we have time for two more. I like this one because it's another Alexander Zuvorov. Zuvorov. I'm gonna go out.
I'm going general. TJ, how about you?
Yeah, I'll go general as well.
Okay, Brad,
I'm going to general.
Ben.
I'll be different and go prospect. Why not?
All right.
Good job. This guy was actually both. So yeah, he's a 20-year-old. He's a 20-year-old lefty out of Minsk, the Dynamo. He was ranked the 11th from recruitscouting.com, but also was the Prince of Italy in the Russian Empire and the Count of Rimnik, the Holy Empire of Rome when they conquered everything in the 1700s. So very popular. Alexander Ruzovorov. The Russian fans are beating us up for that.
Nice.
So,
all right. How about let's do one
Ukraine?
more here.
We'll do one more. All right. Ivan Fedotov. 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 Ivan Fedotov.
F off. Off.
Off. Ivan Fedotov. Fedotov.
Brad. Oh, okay. Troy. Troy wanted to join us just for the Russian leader or Russian general versus NHL prospect thing. I think here. Troy, how's it going? Oh,
Yeah,
he's doing
an
Ivan Vitorov impersonation.
yeah.
Ivan Vitorov. I'm gonna say general.
Okay, Ben, how about you?
I'm going prospect.
Okay. TJ?
I'm gonna go prospect and general.
No. Prospect in general. I'm going to go prospect.
Yeah, so he is a prospect, and he's actually currently detained in Russia. He's a 25-year-old backup goalie for the Flyers. He was actually going to probably get some playing time this year and really compete for the job, but they're trying to make him go to the military, and so he's being detained. He's got problems. He's got problems.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
That sucks for him.
Yeah. That's
All right. Well, hey, that's our first ever NHL prospect or Russian general. Nice.
Hey, at the end results, our TJ rounded out at the bottom with 3, Ben with 4, Brad with 5, and Aaron with all 6 correct.
There you go.
Yes. Damn right. All right. Oh, and Troy just messaged. He's in the backwoods of Spotsylvania. So Spotsylvania, Virginia. Okay. So no good internet. So, well, Troy, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your vacation there and come on back next week. So let's finish up the show. I had mentioned on the chat, and I wanted to get everybody's take on it because I love every time the NCAA tries to flex its muscles and whatever. It just seems to come in and completely bite them in the ass, basically, for lack of a better phrase. But so for those that hadn't heard about it, they came out with a memo earlier in the week clarifying that that member schools are required to follow their NIL rules no matter what your state says. So apparently, and I am not a constitutional scholar, nor am I a lawyer, but apparently the NCAA thinks that their rules somehow supersede your state laws or something, which, Paul Feinbaum, I believe it was Paul Feinbaum, had made a comment, I think, a while back when all this stuff started hitting the fan with the NIL and all these different states made their different laws that, he felt if you allow, and this is an exact quote from him, I was just kind of paraphrasing, but basically it sounds like he felt like LSU would have basically carte blanche to do whatever they want because it sounds like Louisiana has one of the most liberal or like laid back, lenient NIL laws out of the entire country. and basically would let them LSU do whatever they wanted when it came to this kind of stuff. So
They basically go all blue chips on them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah. Oh,
All
SMU on him, from back in the day. So, Marco, let's start with you. What are your thoughts? First of all, let me just before you answer. Is anybody here not a fan of NIL? Like the name, image, and likeness. Oh, Marco, the face you made, kind of. What are your thoughts on it, and what are your thoughts on this memo that the NCAA put out?
So I don't like the NIL because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the dirtiness of their sport clean by scooping up the mud water and showing it in your hands. Look, it's clean, and then putting it back. It's a scam from the get-go. There's problems up and down. You're seeing it, and it's going to rear its ugly head because the women in sports can't get NIL deals because they might be the best volleyball player, but they're not the best looking as their softball counterparts, and there's problems there. And this here is directly related to boosters and people in government. And now it doesn't really word people in government, but everybody talks about what college you went to and where you went to school. So now the people that are getting that are already playing dirty pool and giving money and being boosters and being in legislation are now being pointed out as, don't do this. You have to follow the NCAA rules and not your state senator's rule, who is from Arkansas and goes to every game, and we know they give them money. So they're just muddying the waters further by trying to flex their muscles. And the only people that are going to end up getting hurt, really, the NCAA, nobody gets hurt, right? What are they going to do? They're going to vacate your wins. Did anybody really talk about the Mad Hatter and Les Miles losing 2 years of wins and now no Hall of Fame eligibility this week? No, I really didn't touch up on it. Do we talk a lot about the fact that Reggie Bush doesn't have his Heisman? Did those games not happen? No, they happened. We have those memories. We have the money that we spend gambling on them. The only people that are really going to get punished here, like there's really no punishment unless they decide to come up with one. You put a school on on probation, you lose a couple scholarships, fine. But I don't like the NIL. I like the ability for the kids to get paid. Let them get paid. Let them get endorsements. But this NIL thing, I'm not a fan.
Okay, Brad, what do you think?
I'm on the same path where I don't know, man. Like it is kind of sad to see like the true amateurism of a college sport kind of like dying right before our eyes. Again, we know that's been going on for a long time, so this is nothing new. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, I should be thrown back. No, it's been there, it's been going on, but to make it commonplace now to say, "Yep, this is what it is definitely depressing. The great thing is that all of us live in locations where we can go to high school sports and enjoy that still. But I still, I kind of lean towards Marco to where I'm definitely in favor of like when players are used by the university or by other products companies, things like that, and want to use their name, image, likeness. I think they should be able to be free to do that, as any 18-year-old in this country has the ability to do. But at the same time, I think that like when you've got a player on a scholarship, so their schooling and food and dorm and all that stuff's being paid for, and they're still making a few mil on top of that because of their NIL deals. To me, like I think it's a very misappropriation of funding in order to allow other people to actually have access to higher education. It's basically you're starting to run a sports mill, and you're really not in the higher education stuff's a side gig compared to major sports.
Yeah, Ben, how about you?
I'm very opposed to actually both positions here. I like NIL in principle. I think you got young men putting their bodies on the line in games that many of them don't see a game past their 4 years in college of eligibility. And I mean, as anyone who's played the game can attest to, you can get hurt any stinking play you play. And a lot of these guys come from absolutely nothing. So I can applaud their chance to use their their acquired or God-given gifts to make life-changing money. That part I can applaud. What I also applaud the NCAA finally finding a backbone and saying something back to the conferences, saying you don't have all the control. We have some control here. So, I mean, the NCAA to me is spineless to begin with. I feel like they clearly favor their cash cows all the time, and they generally don't make a comment against them. And NIL clearly favors your cash cows, your UCLA's, Alabama's, Florida, Miami. Those schools have Texas. They have infinite checkbooks they can write. Michigan, they can do what they want. So NIL, in principle, I'm for. However, I don't like how it's structured currently. Just like the transfer portal, I don't like how it's structured currently. I think it's a good idea in principle, but it's done the wrong way. If we had a salary cap similar to what we'd see in professional sports that says, hey, you can only have 20 million on any given team for NIL, I'm okay with that. That's reasonable, and there's some sort of control on a good idea to help student athletes get paid for their risk. You know, I understand, Brad, from you're coming from a position as an educator, and you should value education. We should value it. But I also look at this and say, this has been a sports factory for a long time. I can't tell you how many.
Understood.
I can't tell you how many guys you see have come through these programs that they end up working for temp services as packing and stacking boxes, and they were Division I athletes who didn't make it to the pros. I mean, nothing wrong with that living. It's an honest living. The guys are working their butts off to try and make ends meet. But if that guy can come from nowhere, say Hot Coffee, Mississippi, to go ahead and go make $1 million to go play for an Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or Alabama, and change his whole family's trajectory, I have a hard time staying in the way of that. Now, like I said, I want certain confines to keep that level playing field so we don't see the Los Angeleses, the New Yorks, Chicagos run away with all their money, making it become a money game entirely. If there's reasonable constraints, I think it's a good thing for college football.
Okay, TJ, how about you? I mean, you're probably you're obviously the one who's been a player the most recent, compared to all of us. So, like, what are your thoughts coming from the perspective of a player and someone who might be coming back out of retirement? I'm not really sure. We haven't really talked about that yet, but yeah. So what are your thoughts on NIL and I will, once you answer, I have one more quick question for everyone that kind of Ben brought up a little bit, but TJ, go give your answer first.
So my thing is this: like, when you think of football, like getting paid to play football, you think of the NFL guys. They get millions of dollars to play. They throw their buddies out on the line. Growing up, college football was always for the love of the game, for the love of the sport. You want to go play for the best team to get that opportunity to go make the money. So now what I feel like, if these kids who were, the class of 2027, or class of 2020, or class of 2030, whatever, they're going into these schools and, they're like, oh, the NIL deal, I can get one. There's some of these schools that have very low NIL deals. And I feel like that's going to lose a lot of great, recruits to these schools. And they're going to go to places where the money is there and they know that they can get, $1, $2, $3, $4 million to go play for a team that will get you money before you even make it to the NFL. So in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of it because, kind of like what Marco was saying, it's literally dirty money. I mean, it's clean money, but dirty money at the same time. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, if it was around when I was still, in high school going into college, would I want it? Of course. I mean, who wouldn't want money to go play a sport that you love? I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I don't really think it's, it's fair for, the kids who are 1-2-star recruits and they can't go out and get this big money. It's those 4- and 5-star recruits that are getting the most money. And, they're the ones that are getting looked at more compared to your 1- to 2-star recruits. So I'm definitely not a fan of it at all.
Okay. Well, let me just before we go here, because we are running low on time. But let me ask all of you, and again, this is from something Ben made a comment about, seeing that the NCAA finally kind of had a spine or a backbone. Do they have and I realize also none of us are lawyers, but do they really have a leg to stand? I mean, basically they're coming out and saying that our rules supersede what your state government says. And that hasn't really worked for any of their lawsuits so far. I mean, they've gotten their asses kicked every time.
Have you seen how our government works and how rules for certain people apply and certain people don't? I mean,
I agree with you on that, Mark. No, and trust me, I'm certainly not one that's going to stand up and be like, you better listen to the government, but at the same time, government officials don't really like when somebody like the NCAA tells you that their word doesn't matter either. So I mean, you're basically you're poking the bear when you're poking at a bunch of egotistical, power hungry politicians who basically came out and took control of the situation by making these laws in their state. And now the NCAA is saying, yeah, don't listen to those. You have to listen to us, which is basically the NCAA trying to, have a, what contest.
Well,
I mean, like,
some
hey,
of the key
here's
points,
my side, right?
Some of the key points in the memo really though is like exactly how we're pushing the boosters, and where they're getting their benefits, special benefits, and donations. So it's kind of
and the problem with that is some of the boosters are the politicians too. Like, and you kind of made that comment too. So yeah.
So I mean, the NCAA's got problems. They're going to continue to have problems because it's dirty money. It's people being able to get loans before they have the money, just because, my son's the star running back at LSU. Oh, how'd you get that house? Your junior year, and things like that. But I don't want to prevent people from getting, $1 million deals because they can. Like, does anybody know who Olivia Dunn is?
Yeah.
Well, you might, but I didn't, right? So
I've heard that name, but I've drawn a blank on it.
I'm like, oh, it's a gymnast from LSU.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course, she's got TikTok and Instagram, so she's got this $1 million, fitness clothing line and all this.
Obviously, she all right.
Well, there's those. Didn't Miami have 2 twins for the women's basketball team? I thought that
WWE had their NILs. Yep.
Yeah. They had. I mean, they made a couple million off of their NIL deals, and then I don't think they're on the team anymore. I think they actually left.
They're active training for WWE now. They are signed to WWE.
That's right.
In their training program.
Yeah.
Dude, I can hear my son driving. He's gonna blow out my speakers. He just drove into the driveway. I have just a Subaru, like stock speakers. Like, dude, I shouldn't be able to hear you up here when you drive in. What the heck?
Oh boy.
Thank kids.
I don't have to worry about that for another 6 years, but it's already scaring the hell out of me with my daughter.
Right.
My hope is that she says she doesn't want to get a license yet, doesn't want to learn to drive. I'll be like, okay, you can wait till you're 18. That's fine. But of course, in Wisconsin now, you don't even have to take a driver's test. You just like sign it. I don't know. Brad, do they have that in Indiana?
Oh no, you gotta hold your permit for at least 6 months before you can get your license.
But you still have to go on a driver's test, correct?
Not unless once you've turned 18, no.
Okay, because here in Wisconsin, when COVID hit, they changed the they changed the law that and said that if a parent signs off that they'll take responsibility for you, you can get your license, and they haven't changed it yet. Now that even though we're done with COVID, so I just had a friend whose son got their license, and all they had to do was sign. Oh yeah, we'll take responsibility, and he didn't have to go on a driver's test. So
until he kills someone,
crazy. Yeah,
until they kill someone, exactly. But whatever. So, all right, guys. Well, so let's wrap up the show. Anyone got any big? Ben, why don't we just kind of go around the circle? Anyone big plans for 4th of July? This is kind of an extended weekend. Who has to work on Monday? Anyone have to work on Monday?
Well, look, I'll kind of say this one right away here. I'm extremely excited. So my neighbors from Mississippi I used to have, they moved a year before I did. But I have 2 families coming to visit us. We haven't seen in over a year, so it's going to be kind of honestly, it's our COVID crew. We're all back together again for
nice.
the 4th of July week. So I'm
Awesome.
really excited. We're gonna have everyone here under one roof and really be able to have some good friend and family time. So very excited for that. And it's I can't. It's almost unbelievable to be looking at this where everything's gone. It's cool to have a week to look at. I can actually go away from work and turn my phone off if I want to, and I can do it and just enjoy some family for time. So I will miss you guys next week. I won't be on the show next week. I'm sure you guys will be just fine without me. But that's what I'll be doing is drinking bourbon and actually going to the Cubs Brewers game in Milwaukee. That's next week Thursday.
Nice,
So,
nice. All right, TJ,
Go
how
Cubs,
about
go.
Shut your mouth, Brad. Okay. TJ, how about you?
So let's see.
You said you have to work on a Monday. You don't have
I
the
have to
4-day
work-
weekend. All right.
Yeah, I've got a so I actually work Monday and then I'm off on Tuesday for the 4th. But
Sure.
Yeah, so tomorrow, kind of a laid back day for me at work, but Saturday we're actually going to the Twins Orioles game because it is hula shirt night. I want a
Nice.
hula shirt. I'm not going to wear it, but I want it just because why not? They're cool. And then so it's a day game, and then at night, my buddy and he texted me like 8:00 this morning. Him and his dad just spent $30,000 on fireworks, so we're gonna go blow something up.
$30,000.
Yep.
Wow.
Small village.
and that's Maryland money, y'all.
That's Maryland money, dude.
Holy crap.
Okay, that'll last us for maybe 45 minutes of fireworks.
Nice. Nice.
The
Yikes.
hell?
Yeah, Troy's even. I think Troy's even shocked at that $30,000. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Marco, how about you? Big plans?
So NASCAR's in town.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
so
right. We
I'm going to try to sneak into wherever I can. I went to a NASCAR race down at the Joliet Speedway several years ago and snuck into the infield and got to do the Star Spangled Banner on the infield. So we'll see what kind of trouble I can get into there. I'll send some good pictures of what's going on there. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing this weekend.
We'll have a GoFundMe to get you out of jail.
I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
You'll take okay. Brad, how about
You don't
you?
need trouble if you get caught.
Tomorrow I'm heading up to the lake for the next week. That's the week, either whatever the weekend of 4th of July is. That we'll set up a bunch of fireworks. We all between my family members and stuff, we'll all chip in a whole bunch. So we didn't get $30,000 worth of fireworks.
Yeah, holy cow!
But we definitely have enough in order to basically blow up the end of my pier. So yeah, that's.
Well, try not to do that. I mean,
No. I mean, but it's still. I got about a dozen of those finale boxes and a whole bunch of mortar shots, and we're gonna definitely do it upright like we normally do. So. I'll also be there and likely won't be back till next Friday. So both Ben and I will be out, and Troy will have to carry us on both shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to fish. I'm looking forward to just get up there, get a drink in my hand, and just relax, man. That's
Nice.
I'm ready to go.
Troy says, don't pull any JPPs. No, that's not.
No, actually, I've got a pretty good setup to where like I'll because there's like those tubes that those mortars get shot out of. I'll get big sheets of wood and then drill the things into the sheet. That way, that when it shoots off, it doesn't like rattle and go off balance. And
gotcha.
And the extra cool thing is that the pier is kind of almost like an L or zigzag. So I shoot out at the very end, and I can go back over and then still even further back. So even though I get a nice little shoulder burn last year from a fireball that came down on me a little quicker than I had anticipated. So
that kind of reminds me of years ago, the Lambeau Field. The Packers used to do a fireworks thing for families at Lambeau Field where you actually went inside the stadium. And one year, and they shot them off from one side, so you couldn't sit on that side of the stadium. But then the other side was always, I mean, they had like 30,000 people there. And one year we sat in one of the end zones, and during the show, the wind shifted from where it was going to begin with. And so every single, for probably about the last half hour of the show, every single firework that went off, the debris would come down on us. You know, all my friends and I turned it into like this, who could get grab the most firework debris, and you know, whatever. I don't know. It was stupid, but I mean, you're looking up, and all of a sudden, all these like this shrapnel from these fireworks are falling down on your head because they hadn't anticipated the wind shifting in the middle of the show. So that was always fun. But okay, all right. Well, everybody have a fun 4th of July. I think ours is going to be kind of mellow because I have to work on Monday, but you know, we'll hopefully maybe try to make it to a baseball game or something here in the area if the Timber Rattlers or the Rockers are playing at home. I don't know if they are, but yeah, everyone have a great 4th of July. For those of you watching, be safe. Nobody pull any JPPs or anything, and we'll see everybody back here next Thursday, or at least those that aren't on vacation getting drunk or anything like that. So everyone have a good 4th of July.
Take it easy, guys.